Hi, welcome to Get In, the connected vehicle podcast from BlackBerry. I'm your host, Steve Kovsky, and in this series, we'll be diving into what the future of transportation just might look like. And to help us get a better view, we've invited the head of editorial for MotorTrend magazine and the MotorTrend brand, Ed Lowe. Ed, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Steve. This is great. Super excited to chat with you about the future of automotive, cars, where we're at, what we're doing. It's a topic I'm very passionate about.
And we have some news that we're kind of excited about. BlackBerry and MotorTrend have been partnering on a project that we're going to be talking about for the first time publicly on this show. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, we have to ask Ed a question that we ask of all of our guests. Tell us a story about the first time you found yourself behind the wheel of a car.
I'd always been into cars. I think it's a thing that had really informed my youth. My dad, I wouldn't call him like a super car crazy guy, but he definitely liked his automobiles. Fortunate enough to be able to have some sports cars when I was growing up. I have very fond memories of riding on the parcel shelf of my dad's first gen RX-7. Which is, obviously totally legal because it's a two-seater and there was 3 kids in the family, and like my sister's sitting in the footwell, my brother's in the seat, and I'm sitting on the parcel shelf in the back. So I remember that. We had a Celica GTS, 86 Toyota Celica GTS. That was my brother's car. The story I love to tell is that I scored 100% on the written test for my driver's license and on the driver's test. And then 6 months later, I had 3 speeding tickets and an accident on my record. And I was subsequently kicked off the family insurance policy, much to the chagrin of my parents, because we live far from town. And they were so delighted that I'd finally gotten my license, so they didn't have to just keep schlepping me around. I've been a lead foot. I've been into cars for a long time. And I managed to parlay it into a long career. I've been doing this. I've been in automotive editorial for 20 years now, over 20 years, which is wild to me. At various different publications, but really I've spent the bulk of my career at MotorTrend chasing this dream and enjoying every second of it.
Well, and you've created dreams for others to chase. And I see one in the background there. The MotorTrend Car of the Year Award is what that looks like back there.
Yes.
And that is iconic. In North America, we know the MotorTrend brand. It's older than the two of us, not quite combined, but been around for a long time. There's been a lot of change just at MotorTrend in the past year, 2 years. Tell us a little bit about that trajectory and what MotorTrend is today as a global brand.
Great question. So yeah, MotorTrend's been around forever. 1949, actually. It was the second magazine from founder Robert Peterson after Hot Rod. So I love telling that story that MotorTrend, the company that's now MotorTrend Group, is responsible for both the popular term hot rod and this thing called MotorTrend, which is all about new cars. It's evolved tremendously over the years. We've obviously gone from magazines into the digital age, but in the last few years, we've really pivoted into video. We have a streaming service, we have a website, we have a mobile app. But really, for my team on the editorial side, we are sort of embracing this massive shift that's going on into electrification, which has been going on now for a while. But really we're kind of hitting that hockey stick moment where now all the car companies are rolling out product, and those who aren't are really struggling to how to stay relevant and spin up new product plans as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'm looking at that award and the calipers, and it's very focused on the mechanical part of the car and that engineering that took the auto industry for its first 100 years and served it very well. All of those parts of the car still exist, but now the brain of the car is really taking it on entirely a new road. And we knocked on your door, I think, at about the right time and said, "Hey, we want to focus on this," but we weren't the first to tackle you on this issue. And when did you really kind of have that epiphany that things had changed radically around automobiles?
Right, right. It's a story I like to tell. You've heard it before, so for the audience, this will be new. It's pretty interesting. About a little less than a year ago at the Pebble Beach, the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, which is this big, classic, vintage, beautiful car show out the Monterey Bay Peninsula in Northern California. It's the foremost gathering of collectible, vintage, beautiful vehicles. I'm talking like Duesenbergs and Talbot Lagos, like brass era, pre-war, gorgeous, swoopy car, right? I get a call from the Ford PR people, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come have it's a small dinner with media with Ford CEO Jim Farley?" And I was like, yeah, it sounds good. I've known Jim for a long time. I met him when he was an executive at Toyota, launching the Scion Youth brand back when I was just getting started. So we have a long history with him, and I always love catching up with Jim. I had some stuff to do, so I rolled into this dinner a little bit late, and like he's in the middle of basically giving a very compelling, I might say, lecture or a talk, one-way talk to all the journalists, about eight or nine of us at the table. And he was talking about code. He was saying things like, do you know how many millions of lines of code are coming in the next F-150 Lightning? Or what kind of sensor integration is required in the Mustang Mach-E? And it was, to be honest, it was a little surprising and mystifying given the location and the event. We're in Monterey for a classic car show. And he's talking about all this really cutting edge future stuff. But he's very fired up. He's very passionate about it. And his takeaway, the thing he was kind of telling us was like, none of you guys are talking about this. You're not telling these stories, and you should be. It's very important. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And again, this is really out of place. So it kind of stuck with me. Like, why is he so fired up about this? So I kept that. I held on to that piece. And then, literally 8 weeks, maybe a couple months later, you guys came knocking, and we're bringing up this topic of like embedded automotive software systems and software and its role within the vehicle, and what can you do and what kind of stories can you tell about it. And in my mind, I immediately went back to that conversation I had with Jim. And I was a little hesitant at first that we were the right outlet to tell this story, right? Because we're MotorTrend, we're very consumer facing. That award that you referenced, yes. We started giving out in 1949, and it's always been about, for the consumer, to tell them what is the high water mark in automotive for the year. But as I started to think about it more and do some more research, I realized how big this thing is, how massive the change is, and that we had already actually started down this road with previous winners, including when we gave Tesla Car of the Year back in 2013, and then the Chevy Bolt in 2017, and some of these high water electric vehicles. The actual change isn't necessarily, yes, the powertrain and electrification is a big deal, but the fundamental architecture is actually very different. So that's kind of the origin story, I think, of where we're going with all of this.
I love that story. And as the people who actually listen to this podcast probably know by now, BlackBerry is very, very involved in the automotive industry and is a fundamental ingredient player in cars. And for me, it's been a journey to find out how are cars actually built. And it's not in a factory. It's in factories and workshops and labs all over the world. They come together in this rolling device, which people are expecting a lot more of than they ever did before. And when we brought this to MotorTrend and say, hey, we want to recognize the individuals that are making this happen, you embraced that as well. And you proposed a way to really personify this and to elevate the people behind it and look into the issues that car makers are facing. And that evolved into a business relationship with MotorTrend, and something that we're very proud of, very excited to announce. And that is a multi-year partnership with MotorTrend, supporting a new award program from MotorTrend that's going to recognize those individuals. And could you talk a little bit about the mission of that and how we're going to accomplish it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're spot on. So, we have a long history of giving awards, and I think that was probably part of the appeal in us and why you guys came to us. And we don't just we do car of the year, we do truck of the year, SUV of the year. We have a new one, performance vehicle of the year. We also have an industry accolade called Power List, which results in our person of the year, which really profiles the movers and shakers within the automotive business. And when we started talking, the idea about talking about not just that software-defined vehicles are happening and how much it's going to change the automotive industry, but who are the key players that are behind this? Who are the innovators? Who are the leaders? Who are leading us into this brave new world? And it really is, like, I can't really underscore how big a change this is from companies, car companies, OEMs, if you will, and their tier 1, tier 2, whatever, all the supporting manufacturers, how they have to go from essentially analog or mechanical processes to really thinking about the digital side and the coding and everything that goes on the chip, in the cloud, on the sensor side, how big a change that is. And what really struck me was in all the editorial that we do around just the car industry, we know how to get to people. We know how, if we want to write a profile about Mary Barra or any of her executive team at General Motors, we talk to the PR guy, we go to the press site, there's an updated picture, there's a bio there, no problem, we can spit something out really quickly. To find the people that are leading in the software-defined vehicle space is hard. It's very hard. In fact, a lot of my normal channels, the people I talk to on the PR side or the marketing side, they don't know. They don't know who's working at their own company that is in the leadership position or the best person, the subject matter expert that can tell them all about ADAS and how it's going to evolve into level 2, 3, 4, 5 autonomy. They're getting better. They're getting better every day in identifying these folks. But like the names, their heroic corporate photo, but nowhere to be found on any of their media sites. And I was like, well, this sounds like a story that needs to be told, and an opportunity for us to really get out there and start talking about who these people are. And then as an adjunct to that, we should really be highlighting the real, the top tier, the real players, the folks that are making a tremendous difference. And if, again, we have this experience in doing awards. So, how do we do that? How many, all these things, we've been considering and looking around and figuring out, the best way to highlight the top players within the space. And, I think I'm really glad it's a multi-year partnership because it's going to be something that we need to grow. This is we're I wouldn't say we're not really in the infancy. We're at the toddler stage, I think, of this transition, and certainly key players and innovators and leaders are in place and being defined. But the next few years, I think, going to be really interesting to see if these folks are going to be able to make a difference. Because it's a real challenge ahead.
It is, and there's so many aspects to the story. It's not just about technology; it's about culture. It's about global issues. It's about the ability to design things into cars that are going to save lives. That's a very personal thing for me, and I think it is for most people. Who doesn't know somebody whose life has been lost in an automobile? We're looking at a sea change in transportation and on so many aspects. And I'm excited now reading the stories, and let's talk about some of the ways that MotorTrend's going to deliver this. We have a book that is being written by MotorTrend journalists. They've traveled all over the world. They've uncovered these hidden individuals. And I think it's worth saying that sometimes with some companies, the reason that it was hard to find them is they really didn't want you to find them. The competition for these people is so intense that they like to keep them under wraps.
This program that we're working on together has basically 4 key parts, right? And the first 2 of what we've been slaving over for the last few months. There's a 172-page book, premium print product we're very proud of. It profiles the pioneers and the innovators in this space. So we talked to people who laid the foundation many years ago for where we're at now. But the bulk of the profiles that we have are all about the current leadership at many of the key automotive companies, not just the companies, but a handful of key suppliers. And then alongside that, we have a companion documentary that we're working on, 22 minutes long. We traveled all over the place to capture these individuals. We were very lucky to get the time with these folks. It looks great. We're very proud of it. To what you said on the importance of the work that these folks do, the storytelling is actually very hard. Conceptually, when we talk about how software is defining a vehicle, with the exception of the infotainment system and the digital cockpit, which is a term I've learned in talking about SDVs, all the fun stuff and the screens and the stuff that goes on with the steering wheel and the controls, outside of those key components, most of what SDV does should be invisible. It's meant to operate really seamlessly and in the background. So it's kind of like when we talk about automotive reliability, or nobody cares about reliability until your car doesn't start, right? Nobody even thinks about if these folks do their job right, especially on the safety and the EV charging side, or just stuff like whether the door handle pops out and the car opens up when you approach it. If the individuals we profile do their jobs right, nobody's ever going to notice how awesome. They will interact with and engage with these new vehicles, and it's going to be like blinking and breathing, things that just go on without you noticing it. But then there's this other element that you mentioned, which is the safety aspect of it, right? Because the analogy is, cars are becoming like smartphones on wheels. It's like, yeah, that's an apt analogy, but it falls apart when you think about what happens. When your mobile phone bricks, when it doesn't start, okay, you restart, no big deal. If your car bricks when you're traveling 80 miles an hour, you're going to have a problem. So there's a criticality, as I like to say, about what is going on here that I don't think is appreciated. Certainly not by the mainstream audience that we talk to. But it just underscores how important it is, the storytelling that we're doing, as well as the award that we are going to be giving out. And then the fourth element, which is this gala that we will be throwing with you guys to celebrate the industry and everybody who's leading within it.
That's going to take place at CES in January of 2023. And it's going to be the event of the year to really celebrate the people that are guiding this huge change that's going to affect the life of just about everybody on the planet one way or another. Because another added benefit of these new drivetrains is they're going to extend the health of the planet, and so it's just a win-win-win. And I sense from reading some of the profiles that you've created for the book, which I'm deep into now, and that these people are excited that somebody is asking them about this. They're excited to tell these stories because they have been, kind of toiling unseen for a long time. And I've experienced this as a technology journalist for many, many years. When you get to the people who are behind the scenes, who never, they never have a reporter call them. They're never featured in editorial. When somebody finally notices you, they see you, it's kind of a great moment for them, and we're just beginning that.
Yeah, spot on. And it's what's wild is that initially I thought we'd be seeing a lot of people who are now at big car companies or startup EV makers that are from other industries. They've come from Apple or Microsoft or Amazon or something, Netflix. And that while that's true, we have a number of those folks. We've actually talked to a number of lifers, like you call them lifers, that they've been at a certain OEM for 20 plus years, and I think there's this trope that it's only these new tech companies, these flashy guys who kind of know what's going on, but the automotive industry is so rich and so deep in terms of talent. And again, they've been dealing with critical issues like safety forever, that there are folks that are very much up to speed about how this works and the impact that's going on. And it's not as easy as saying, oh, it's going to be the winner. The clear winners are going to be all the tech companies, that these old auto guys are just dinosaurs. That's not the case at all. In fact, I've had several conversations with key leaders that say that, what's really great about this shift that's happening is, and this is a topic that's covered a lot in different parts. It's touched on in almost every profile we did, is in recruiting and in trying to get the talent to come work at these in software-defined vehicles. Cars are sexy. Let's be honest. Like, it's one thing to work for a phone manufacturer or to design the latest app over here, but if you can work for a big brand that people the thing I like to say is, every car has a story, and everyone has a car story, right? Like, especially if you live in North America, it's definitely like states like California or New York. Like, cars are everywhere, and you don't have to be a car person, but you will have a car story. There was a car that took you home from the hospital when you were born, right? There was a car that you went on your first date with, or out to prom in, or something. Like, everybody has that deep within, embedded in their DNA, in their history. And it's cool. It's cool that you can be part of this transition, this revolution that's happening as vehicles go from being purely sort of mechanical analog to this combination of digital mechanical. So
I think that's an important part of telling the story of these individuals, is to hold them up, to make, to publicize the fact that they are at the cutting edge. Designing one of these cars is not that different from designing the next generation of the space shuttle, is what I'm learning from all of the complexities that are going into this to make cars do the things that we want them to do today, tomorrow, 5 years from now. It takes incredible skill, and it's going to require a lot of people. And I think as a software engineer, or in a technical field, you really should look at automotive. And can Facebook save lives? Can it save the planet? Can it? Well, yeah, maybe it can. But the way you're going to impact lives, as you've described, is so intimate, and so it's such a human experience that if you want to have impact, you can do it here.
It's sexy, like it's a senior leader at an unnamed car company told me, it's one thing to tell people like you worked on like the iPhone 2 or the iPhone 3, like that's pretty cool. But like iPhone 14, iPhone 50, iPhone XR, whatever the heck that one is, versus like, hey man, I joined Toyota or VW and I helped them get like their first fully electric fill in the blank, whatever, SUV, sports car off the ground. I did the user experience in that, or I helped with the firmware over the air update system. Like that's, and you can point to it as it goes down the street, wherever you're at. Like that is sort of next level. So I obviously have a bias, right? I love cars. I love cars more than mobile phones. But this is my perspective on it. And again, why it's so exciting, because, I'll be honest, there's a lot of people as we're at this transition point that want to look backwards and sort of be like, oh, V8 engines are going away, and all cars are electric. They don't make any noise, and and like all the stuff that goes along with that. And I get it. There's a lot of passion and emotion around all this shared experience we've had around cars. But you guys can have that backward looking. There's plenty of people that are going to have that take in it. You know who doesn't? The new generation. the TikTok generation, the kids who've grown up with a mobile phone in their hands since they were like 5 years old. They want nothing more to embrace this experience that they get. And now we're bringing all these screens in the cars, and we're bringing wireless, whatever you want, from hopefully charging at some point, but over the air updates and all of these advances. The expectation is so much higher, and it's exciting, and it should be embraced. And it really does start with, I don't want to call it the old brand, but that's like brands like MotorTrend. We have to be on the leading edge of this.
I'm really excited about all the things we're doing together. What are you excited about for the next 1-2 years at MotorTrend? Do you think you're going to be able to get consumers to care about what's going on way under the hood? That's
a great question, and it's a topic of deep debate within the editorial team, on our business side as well. We know it's FUD, as we call it: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Right? There's a lot of FUD. You go to any forum, you look at any of these social media posts, and every time there's a new EV, there's a whole bunch of folks that are like, oh, I don't know, like, what's going on? Caring deeply about it, I think, will come. Like, people, there's several hurdles that need to happen within the minds of the consumers, and I think what's great is it is happening. It's coming. Maybe it's in fits and starts, but I like to point to like some major events, right? Like for American football, NFL, we had the Super Bowl, and I remember looking at social media and seeing some hilarious comments about the commercials that ran. And people are saying, like, well, two things are really clear after watching all the Super Bowl commercials. One, cryptocurrency is apparently a thing. And two, holy moly, look at all the EVs, because every single car commercial that ran was about electrified vehicles, right? And that recognition in the sort of the psyche of the general consumer, we're getting it all day long now. We're getting all sorts of feedback. We get letters like, oh man, I guess I got to buy an EV. How do I do it? So that part is coming. I think as EVs gain broader adoption and we get over the hump of charging and range anxiety and this kind of stuff, people are going to start to see the other side of it. Again, the stuff we talked about, the user experience and how different it's going to be. You don't have to go to a gas station anymore. You're going to get your updates. Your car can be faster, quicker, have new features, a new camera setting or a safety system updated overnight. You just got to go to your phone and accept the change. And a lot of this will be driven by advances in personal technology, in the mobile phone, and in the smart home systems. All of this stuff is happening at the same time, and it makes, I think, the psychological barrier lower as you get more comfortable. Like, I have this Apple Watch now, and it does all these different things. But there's definitely a lot of hand-holding that we need to do right now with the grumpier folks that are resistant to it. But also we're in a unique position where we can help a lot of the car makers too, because most of them get the resistance, that they know it too. But they obviously have an agenda. They want to sell you a car. MotorTrend is out here trying to tell you which car is the best one to consider. And we are evaluating all of them for not just, the standard performance, 0 to 60 quarter mile, that kind of stuff, or how nice the leather is. But now we're going to be able to tell you, this is what you need to consider. This is what charging looks like. This is how you should do it at home. This is some of the things you should consider if you like screens and touch screens versus some of the gesture stuff. Like, it's huge. It occupies a huge part of my brain every day, try to figure out how to do the storytelling around this. But the best news for everybody is that they're all coming. These vehicles are coming whether we like it or not. So we're all going to get there eventually, and it's on us to make sure it's as interesting and informative and entertaining. That path, the storytelling we do around it, is the most engaging. And nobody does it better. And I can't wait to read the next issue, and to hold that book in my hands, and to watch that documentary, and to sit around the table with you in Las Vegas in another, however many months, and see MotorTrend really recognizing
excellence in this field. And it's an exciting time. So thank you so much for everything that you and your team are doing, your leadership, and allowing us to ride along with you on what is a very exciting ride.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and thank you so much. Your team's been great. We've learned so much just in chatting with all the different folks on the BlackBerry side about this massive change that's going on right now.
Well, that's the end of our episode for today. But if you'd like to get more information on the topics or our guest, check out blackberry.com/podcast. Get in. The Connected Vehicle Podcast from BlackBerry is available wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with our latest episodes.